Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Here are tonight's main stories.
A family's heartbreak. We hear from the sister of a young woman killed alongside her son after breaking down on a North Lincolnshire A road.
Every day, wake up with that punch in the stomach, remembering that she's gone. She lived for her kids. All she did, everything she did was for them.
Jailed. The pair who met on social media start prison sentences after he was found guilty of terrorism offences and she plotted to destroy 5G phone masts.
Pandemic stress. Parent support groups say there's been an increase in postnatal PTSD linked to the COVID crisis.
And I'm live on the blue carpet here in Sheffield, where the stars have just started to arrive for the premiere of the sequel to The Full Monty.
Good evening. First tonight, the grieving family of a young mother and her child who died after a lorry hit their broken-down car say lessons need to be learned to prevent another tragedy.
34-year-old Nicola Courtney and her 3-year-old son Lucas were stranded in a live lane on the A180 near Scunthorpe when they were hit by a lorry.
There had been several calls to police before the collision. Her sister Rachel now says action needs to be taken to improve response times and road safety. Helen Steele reports.
She's the most perfect mum. Brilliant. She lived for her kids. Sometimes she'd do a full 48-hour shift. So then the rest of the week she's at home.
Nicola Courtney often worked antisocial hours as a carer so she could spend happy times like this with her children. But hours after this photo was taken, Nicola and her youngest son were dead. Their car had been stranded on a live lane on the A180 as they returned home to Scunthorpe.
My brother David, he phoned me. He went, Nicola and Lucas have died in a car crash, been hit by a lorry. And I just dropped to my knees.
And then, how have you been ever since that?
Terrible. Breakdown after breakdown after breakdown.
The incident has been voluntarily referred by Humberside Police to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. After it emerged, there were several calls about the car blocking a live lane before officers arrived.
They didn't know there was anybody in it, granted, but there was plenty of time to get a police car out there to realise there was somebody in it.
How much does that play on your mind?
All the time. Every day. Every minute.
Advice is to always exit the car if there's a hard shoulder, but stay in it if there's no place of safety. Rachel's now campaigning for the A road to have motorway-style safety measures.
It's pitch black. The verge is this big. She wouldn't know which way to walk.
The inquest into Nicola and Lucas's death has now opened. The coroner is looking at the impact as the cause of death, but also the possibility of alcohol in Nicola's system. Rachel believes that alcohol did not cause what happened.
What would you say to people who say, well, she shouldn't have
got in the car? She's very true, she shouldn't have. But none of us are ever going to know the reasons surrounding why she got in that car.
Rachel hopes the inquest, adjourned until September, will shed more light. The investigation into police conduct is ongoing. As a result, Humberside Police said it couldn't comment. What's undeniable, Rachel says, is Nicola's love for her children.
The bond between them was unreal. It's kind of a blessing in disguise, if you know what I mean, that one of them didn't survive.
Rachel Courtney ending that report by Helen Steele. Next, a grandfather from Sheffield who called for MPs to be executed and issued what a judge branded a call to arms against those in authority has been jailed for 12 years for terror offences linked to his extreme right-wing views.
60-year-old Darren Reynolds was sentenced at Leeds Crown Court today, alongside 59-year-old Christine Grayson from York. She was given 12 months for plotting to destroy 5G phone masts through an obsession with conspiracy theories, which the pair had discussed on social media. Lisa Adlam has more.
Darren Reynolds and Christine Grayson knew each other through the social media platform Telegram, where both were regular users. During a 5-week trial, Leeds Crown Court heard they shared conspiracy theories and discussed anti-authoritarian ideologies. When police searched their homes, they found a crossbow and a number of crossbow bolts at Grayson's home in York, while at Reynolds' Sheffield address they discovered 2 replica assault rifles. Christine Grayson had become obsessed with the belief that 5G masts were linked to the COVID-19 vaccine and shared this video of a burning mast as she talked about ways to get rid of them. She was convicted last week of conspiracy to commit criminal damage. Today, Judge Guy Curl KC said although she had not got beyond the planning stage of carrying out the offence, Grayson had chosen to take the law into her own hands, calling for a sabotage team to destroy the masts. She was sentenced to 12 months in prison, with half to be served on licence, and will be released almost immediately after spending 9 months in custody on remand. Her co-accused Darren Reynolds was cleared of the same charge in relation to 5G masts, but sentenced to 12 years after his conviction on 8 terror offences linked to his extreme right-wing, anti-Semitic and racist views. The court heard Reynolds encouraged violence against people he branded traitors, members of Parliament who he repeatedly called to be hanged, against Jews and against foreigners. He was found guilty of encouraging terrorism with his online comments and disseminating a terrorist publication. He was also convicted on 6 charges of possessing material likely to be useful to a person committing an act of terrorism. One security expert said the conversations between Reynolds and Grayson would have been on MI5's radar through online surveillance.
The talk and the chat that these two have been involved in online and in encrypted conversations on an app known as Telegram, that is essentially how the two were discovered for what they were doing and encouraging and talking about.
Barristers for Darren Reynolds claimed his postings online were a case of free speech gone wrong, a line crossed. But Judge Guy Curl said it was well beyond that line. It was, he said, a persistent message of hatred, a deliberate call to arms. Lisa Adlam, ITV News, Leeds Crown Court.
Well, next, to the rising number of mothers experiencing postnatal post-traumatic stress disorder due to the pandemic.
It's also known as birth trauma and is a type of anxiety disorder often affecting mothers who've had a long, difficult and complicated labour.
Now, a South Yorkshire baby group says it's seen a spike in cases as women are urged to seek the help they need. Katie Ridley reports.
Dragonflies. Down, then up.
Reading to her daughter on the sofa, there was a point when Rose thought this might never happen. At just 29 weeks pregnant, she caught COVID and had to be rushed to hospital for an emergency caesarean. Now, more than 2 years later, those memories still haunt her.
It was a traumatic experience. But Catherine was born and she's been, at that time they showed me Catherine, but I couldn't even remember that much. And she was moved to neonatal ICU. And then I was in the other side of the hospital in ICU. Thinking back at that time, what I think is it's not fair what I went through. It's just not fair, and I really had a rough time.
It's estimated that in the UK alone, 20,000 women a year may develop postnatal PTSD. And it's thought that COVID has led to an increase. Birth trauma is something this baby group in Sheffield says is experienced by a lot of new mums.
They couldn't have their partners there until very late on. They couldn't have additional birth partners there, or mums or anything like that, or friends to help them through that process. And it has really impacted on them becoming a parent, and they have struggled in the first few months of being a parent because of that.
Symptoms of postnatal PTSD include feelings of abandonment, guilt and helplessness. And experts say these negative thoughts can stay with mothers for years if they don't reach out for help.
We've had women coming to us in their 40s and 50s. The oldest woman who came to us was in her 80s, still experiencing flashbacks. For example, on birthdays, anniversaries tend to kind of bring back all those feelings. And it makes me really sad because a lot of those women, they didn't get diagnosed at the time and they've lived with this for years and years.
The NHS says it's expanding maternal mental health services for women experiencing difficulties around childbirth. It's a move welcomed by Rose and her husband, who know that the right support is vital for a happy and healthy family. Katie Ridley, ITV News.
Now do stay with us, because still to come on the programme this evening, we'll be getting the full Monty at a blue carpet event in Sheffield as the film gets a transfer to TV.
And maybe not quite as cheeky as the full Monty, but we might want to take a few layers off where we get that warm sunshine this week. All the detail and more of your photos a little later on.
MPs are debating whether universities should have a legal duty of care towards students to try to reduce the number taking their own lives. It follows a campaign by parents, including Mark and Jackie Shanahan, whose son Rory died while studying at Sheffield University. The government says improvements are being made and there is already a general duty of care for students at university.
We want them to have a successful time from their welcome week when they first arrive right through to a brilliant graduation. What we don't want is more Rorys.
We're on the brink of change. I firmly believe that if we get the statutory duty of care for universities towards students, then that will definitely bring change for everyone coming in the future.
Doncaster Sheffield Airport has moved a step closer to being taken into public ownership after the South Yorkshire Mayoral Authority voted in favour of a compulsory purchase. It's agreed to grant a £3.1 million to support Doncaster Council with the cost of building a legal case. The airport was closed in November when owners the Peel Group said it was not financially viable. If successful, a compulsory purchase order would force Peel to sell the site to the council.
The CPO process is a long and difficult and complicated process, and there are no guarantees of success. Ultimately, this is going to be a decision that's made by the courts and the Secretary of State, and we need to put ourselves in the best position to win that fight, get to a place where we can then do a back-to-back deal with a private investor. I've always said the best people to run and own airports are the private sector, but we want a partner with us who shares our ambition, which is for a thriving regional airport in Doncaster. That's what we're trying to get to.
The ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, a judge expresses his surprise at the Duke of Sussex's absence from court on the first day of his case against Mirror Group newspapers. Prince Harry's lawyers said he flew in last night after celebrating his daughter's birthday, but he's been accused of wasting court time. Also ahead.
Firstly, are you okay? I hope so.
Holly Willoughby returns to This Morning saying she feels let down by Philip Schofield. And the Full Monty Boys are back. We hear from the stars of the 90s film as they reprise their roles for a new TV series. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
And we'll be live on the blue carpet for that premiere in Sheffield in just a moment. Now, we're talking about gap years next. I imagine you jetting off and doing a bit of globe trotting.
I wish I had, Michael. I can't think of anything better now, but at the time, no, I didn't.
Well, good news is we're being told that it's never too late to take one with the over 50s. Now, the biggest growing group of people opting to take an extended trip overseas, so there's still time.
There's still plenty of time, yes.
More than enough.
Are people making up for missing out on their youth, or are there other factors at play behind the rise of a new generation of gap year travellers? Nick Smith has been finding out.
Izzy and Phil are busy planning their next excursion and are known to thousands of social media followers as the Gap Decaders.
Well, it's another gorgeous morning here in Spain. Spain, we love you.
Both in their 50s, 3 years ago they sold their house, left secure jobs, bought a motorhome and decided to take a gap year which morphed into a new lifestyle.
We had all the material things that we ever wanted and we've gone on holiday and it was great, but there was always that, could we stay a bit longer? Could we extend? Where else can we run off to? It was always really about the travel.
Get to the port, wouldn't we, on the way home and say, oh, shall we just turn around and go somewhere else?
It was a big decision, probably the biggest decision of our lives.
Stepping away from the rat race, stepping away from all that need to have the next car, the next holiday, the next handbag, whatever, you know. It was really liberating and I didn't think that would happen. I didn't realise that would happen, but it really did.
We overnight.
This couple are actually far from unusual. A recent survey by travel insurers providers All Clear claims 38% of over 50s plan to travel more now than they did pre-COVID. Helen Walker is a travel counsellor based in Hebden Bridge, who says often in this demographic, travel is making up for lost opportunities.
I think to give them some insight into what they maybe have missed when they left school, there wasn't the opportunity then to travel. And maybe left school and went on to do jobs or even start a family, whereas now lots of young people do the same.
It's not just those nearing the end of their careers choosing a travelling lifestyle. The ability to work from anywhere has led to a rise of digital nomads in middle age. Sophia Husbands is in her 40s and spends months at a time overseas, working remotely where she can, immersing herself in different cultures.
I originally wanted to travel after uni, and then at the time one of my parents put me off and I didn't do that, and it was always like niggling in the background because I love to travel. It feels weird standing still, and I hope that, from talking to more people about it, that they're going to realise it's more accessible. It's not the typical gap year, teenager, someone in their 20s. It could be anyone.
And one psychologist tells me that with people living longer and often healthier lives well into retirement, perceptions around that demographic are shifting.
They no longer see the house dress and the cup of tea all during the day inside, or just caring for grandchildren. They see the potential of a whole new career.
So even in those golden years, there's still plenty of time to take off on a brand new adventure. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Certainly something to think about. I can see the appeal of that.
Yeah, although I suppose the odd gap week will do for me, so that's more than enough.
OK, that's good to know. Next tonight, we're launching this year's search for a fantastic fundraiser to represent our region at the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards, and we need your help.
Yes, it's time to say thank you to the people who work tirelessly to support charities and good causes of all sizes. More now from Ian and Lara on how to get involved.
The Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards is one of the biggest events in the showbiz calendar, but it's the real people, not the celebrities, who are the stars of the show.
And each year, one fantastic fundraiser gets to represent ITV calendar and attend the awards in London. They're even in with a chance of winning the overall ITV Regional Fundraiser of the Year award. Last year, our winner was marathon running Iman Chowdhury from Bradford, whose amazing efforts raised money for an orphanage in Bangladesh.
And now we need your help to find this year's ITV calendar winner. Here's the awards host to tell us why.
The Pride of Britain Awards are all about the special people who make our world a better place to live in. And the ITV Regional Fundraiser Awards is where you come in, because we're looking for those people who go that extra mile to raise money. We want you to nominate them. Now, it doesn't matter how much money or how little they raise. This award is all about how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and their selfless determination to inspire others.
So if you'd like to nominate someone to be our Regional Fundraiser of the Year, you can head to our website. That's itv.com/Pride of Britain. You can only nominate individuals and they must be aged 18 years or over.
If you are under the age of 18, please get permission from a parent or guardian before you nominate. The closing date is Sunday the 6th of August at 11:59 p.m. Full terms and conditions and our privacy notice can be found on our website.
Thanks, Lara. Now, Kerry is with us, and another nice spell, Kerry. It looks like summer is actually with us.
Sunshine came out for us at least today, didn't it? And that's the third week, this past weekend, the third weekend that we've had where we've at least had some really nice dry and warm conditions during the course of the weekend, and our third dry week, so no significant rain for another week. Frustrating cloud and a breeze for some though today, finally breaking. This was the cloud cover at 4 o'clock where we got the best of the temperature, so Bramham was our hotspot at 20. But out towards the coast, even when the cloud did clear right back to the coastline with that northeasterly 13, so a big difference in temperatures, and that's pretty much what we're going to get for much of the week. It's chasing those cloud amounts, and if you're really lucky like most of us were today, it feels quite nice in the sunshine, but if not, it does feel a little bit chilly. But high pressure in charge, keeping things mostly dry. Now, I'm going to ask get asked two things this week. Storm Oscar
Yes.
and a heat wave. Storm Oscar is nothing to do with us, but there's a low pressure developing around the Canaries and Madeira and heading towards Spain. And it's the Spanish Meteorological Service that have named this area of low pressure Oscar. It's not coming towards us, it actually stays to the west of Spain as we head towards the weekend, but what it will help to do is drag warmer air pushing its way in from the south and east. For us, maybe even on Saturday, we've still got that easterly, so maybe not mid-20s, but the heat wave word that you might hear over the next few days is because at least southern parts of the UK might be in that heat wave criteria, and we're definitely going to feel warmer, but of course with warmer we might get wetter and we might eventually by the weekend get that breakdown by the end of the weekend. No, we don't need. We want pictures like this, don't we? This was Doncaster, actually sunrise, I think. Mark Kirk is a farmer. I thought he'd taken it with a drone, but actually photobombed here by the pigeons. He was mending the barn roof, so I hope you've got the barn roof mended.
Not a
Mark.
bad job.
Yeah, and this beautiful one was taken by Simon Walkden, who was climbing and walking during the course of the weekend. Lovely from the Peak District, and a few pollinators popping up now, so keep them coming. Weather photos at itv.com.
Kerry, thanks very much indeed.
Now, 26 years ago, a film depicting a group of lads who decided to form a dance troupe and do the full Monty, that's everything off, ladies and gentlemen, became a worldwide hit. The movie depicting the hardship of life in working-class Sheffield became a classic after the main characters created a male revue to make money, all filmed at the iconic Shire Green Working Men's Club.
Well, roll forward a generation and many of the cast have been reunited for a new TV series hitting the screens later this month. And because of the Sheffield connection, there's a big red, or is it blue, carpet premiere in the city. We'll be going live to Adam Fowler in just a moment, but let's just have a sneak peek.
Who really cares about their future? What's out there for them?
Go big or go home. This is going to be the greatest comeback. Get back here. Give us a crisp. Love you, mate.
Well, let's head straight to Adam, who's in Sheffield, mixing with the stars, fully dressed, I'm pleased to see.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. Of course, it was a worldwide smash when it came out in 1997. It put Sheffield on the map. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, and now it's happening all over again. I'm joined by Mark Addy and Steve Hewson from the film.
Hello.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Hello.
You're back here doing it all again after all these years. I mean, did you ever dream that this could happen?
Not really. I mean, the film finished on such a kind of big triumphant note. You think, well, where do we go from there? And I know Simon, the writer, was approached several times about writing a sequel, but he didn't feel it was the right thing to do. So, given that we have 8 hours to tell the story of what's happened to these folk, it made sense. Things have moved on. What's changed in the past 25 years? We'll be exploring all that, the wonders that have happened to our country in the intervening period, and how these people who are still struggling get on with life.
And what was it like getting all the gang back together? I mean, imagine that you hadn't all seen each other for...
No, well, we've been in touch, haven't we, over the years? A few of us have been in touch. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's not like you're starting a new job and having to work out who's who and how you're going to work with each other. It's just like, yeah.
And filming around Sheffield, of course. I mean, you're back doing that. What's the Sheffield like as a place to film in and come back to?
Wonderful. Yeah, it's brilliant. And we've got some sunshine this evening as well, which is glorious. And the people have been very welcoming. Very welcoming. Yeah, it's just what you'd expect from Sheffield. It's a great city.
Did you get back to Shire Green Working Men's Club at all, or is that a kite?
No, we haven't. No, but we can't give too much away. But no, we haven't been to Shire Green. No.
Well, I noticed it was a blue carpet instead of a red carpet. I wondered if that might be a clue, a little bit of blue for the dads or whatever.
Don't think on Disney. No, surely not.
But I know you can't tell us too much, about it because you can tell by the trailer it's fairly tightly sealed. But are people going to turn off that TV and feel the same way they did in 1997?
Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's the same writer, Simon Beaufoy. He's full of a lot of comedy and a lot of pathos. He's
is a master at mixing those two.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. It's a real pleasure. Back to you in the studio.
Oh, Adam, live in Sheffield. Fantastic to see it back,
It's
isn't
great,
it?
isn't it? I'm looking forward to seeing that. Now, here's Kerry with the weather.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, it's all or nothing this week. Where we get the sunshine, it will feel very pleasant and particularly warm, but where we get the cloudier skies, certainly in that northeasterly breeze, it is going to feel a lot chillier. So some stubborn cloud around in places, the cool northeasterly staying with us, but nice and warm in any sunshine. This was the story so far today. It did melt away across many northern and western parts during the course of the afternoon, giving us some nice spells of sunshine. But as we head deeper into this evening and overnight tonight, the cloud once more returns back westwards across all parts, and maybe low enough that cloud to produce a little bit of moisture over the Pennines by the time we reach dawn. For most of us, we are dry but cloudy, slightly lighter winds and lows of between 8 and 10 Celsius. There is sometimes as we head into Tuesday, 4:38 and 9:32. So for many of us tomorrow morning, it will be a dry start, albeit quite cloudy, a little bit of mist and fog perhaps, soon lifting. And then into the afternoon, we are expecting it to thin and clear to western parts, but it will be a much slower process, we think, than today. So many areas, certainly parts of East Yorkshire and the North Yorkshire coastline, again staying with quite a lot of cloud around, a cooler feel and still with that northeasterly breeze. So west probably best for any sunny spells where it'll get to 17, possibly 18 Celsius. And then the cloud returns tomorrow night and then tries to retreat eastwards again as we head through into Wednesday. Wednesday may be a little bit more in the way of sunshine again, where the sunshine pops out, 17 or 18 Celsius. A similar story on Thursday, and we are hoping for a little bit more sunshine Friday into the weekend, and eventually by the end of the weekend, those winds change direction. It will feel warmer for all by day and by night.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Well, all this dry and warm and bright weather, great news for the pollinators, but not for those who suffer. High today, moderate to high over the next few days, but with that northeasterly, lower at the coast.
So better than the Med for some of us, Kerry, with those temperatures. I'm glad
high staying with us for the rest of the week, yeah.
Storm Oscar is keeping at bay and we're getting some nice temperatures there. So thanks for that.
Who needs a holiday when you can stay right here
Costa del
in the glorious
Yorkshire.
sunshine? Indeed. That's it from us. I'm back with the late news at 10:30. Good night.
Bye.